For more on the potential impact, let's bring in Versant Ventures Managing Director Carla Rizzuto. The firm invests in early-stage pharma companies. Carla, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
We initially asked you on because of your investments in the obesity drug space, which we will get to. But I'm just curious, as more and more companies here in the U.S. look to China specifically for deals for the next promising molecule, whether it be in obesity or cancer, how will tariffs impact? How will the worsening relationship, in theory, impact those sorts of relationships?
I think there's two ways that the impacts could take place. The first is through, accessing products that are innovated in China and then brought over to the U.S. or to other markets. We'll have to see how the tariffs are exactly structured to understand if it really will affect that sort of trade. But more tangibly, at least for most of our businesses, China is a huge center for contract research and for manufacturing, and anything that increases the cost of that is going to make it more challenging in our space. We're already, a space that's under pressure in terms of investor sentiment, and increasing costs is not going to help that.
I don't think people realize how much is actually done in China when it comes to developing pipelines and developing next drugs. As you mentioned, research, contracting the research. And we're not just talking about the Biosecure Act. We're talking in those firms, obviously, but there are other firms that companies use, big companies like Merck or whatever, to develop drugs over there precisely because of the cost. I mean, can you give us an idea just, for the American public, that a lot of drugs are actually being worked on there on our behalf?
I mean, if I look at our portfolio, we probably manage about 80 companies actively. Virtually all of them are using a Chinese CRO or manufacturing partner in some way in the R&D and development process, right? So it's a very significant part of how biotech and pharma companies operate, and it goes from the smallest company up to the very largest ones, the Mercks, et cetera. So it's a very significant part of how the sector operates.
Can you give us an idea of how much, in your portfolio companies, let's say, how much more it would cost if you had to bring that research, or how disruptive it would be if one had to bring that research and reshore it to the United States?
Well, to put it in perspective, let's just say that we wanted to reshore all of the externalized R&D and manufacturing today, we couldn't do it. There's not enough capacity in the U.S. So it's very difficult to imagine how that would happen. But just in terms of pure costs, I think you're just looking at linearly with respect to the amount of tariff that's applied.
Okay. I do want to talk about your weight loss portfolio because you have investments in a number of companies. How should we think about the space? Are we still thinking about GIPs and GLP-1s, or are you sort of going next step beyond that?
Yeah, at Versant, we see the obesity space and cardiometabolism more broadly as the single largest value creation opportunity in the history of the industry. And so we're building a broad portfolio to contribute from multiple angles. We've started working on what we call adjacencies to the incretins, so the GLP-1s and the GIPs, but also thinking about even further afield approaches that are sort of the next horizon. So thinking about ways to address comorbidities that obesity patients suffer. But in the very long run, ways to reset what we call the metabolic set point. So this is a mechanism that your body uses when it's being starved to slow metabolism and therefore conserve calories. It's a great thing if you're a hunter-gatherer in a cave and have a lean winter. Not such a good thing in our food-abundant world.